Hi, this is Steve White. I've done my best to personally speak with every Central Committee member. My campaign has been strictly focused on the issues that are most important to you. Here's what sets me apart from the other candidates. I'm a former county commission chair, former county party chair, and a former chair of the board of the Utah Taxpayers Association. I balance 8 budgets. I am the current commission budget analyst. I offer a seamless transition, and I am ready on day one to lead with proven, energetic, conservative leadership. Yesterday, with my input as the commission's budget hawk, we reduced the tax increase of 2020 by 25% without impacting funds for any department. Okay, every time Amelia and I stand up to this microphone, we have to say we're candidates for county commission. So we have a vested interest in this presentation. And that I have 8 opponents, but no enemies in that crew. So, unlike everybody else's commentary and kind comments about the process, I appreciate that we said this is a beta. That's important because the data that was coming back from the auditor's office was weak on the side of sales tax revenue, on property tax growth, in that I sat down and went through the last 6 calendar years, which are our fiscal years, and sales tax averaged 7.08% growth each year, throwing out the high year of last year and the low year. You know, you throw out the top and the bottom, and then you average everything else. And so at 7%, we'd be at $37,891 and change. And the budget number in the doc was 33.8, something like that. And, you know, somewhere in that range. And so I sat there going, boy, they're making this really hard, especially if they're underestimating revenue and saying, oh, but you can't touch property tax unless you cut an expense over here when actually revenues are underestimated. I'm just asking that we use good historical numbers. And the growth rate from 2015 to 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, excluding the 55%, I agree with your number. It was 55%, that 19.4 million. Excluding that, we've had a 5.12% growth in property tax as well. And so when I sat down and I went through the numbers, and I'm trying to come up with how do we do justice for the taxpayer, the citizen, the people we're here to serve. I just sat there saying, you know, sales tax is underestimated, property tax doesn't have a growth factor in it, and the memos that I get and everything else seem to say, put both hands behind your back and don't work at this unless you do it my way. And every one of the 8 items on the punch list there are policy. Policy belongs to the commission, not to the auditor's office. Those are nice suggestions, but it's not policy. And so as I sat there looking at it, the inflation factor this year is a serious concern to the Fed. Well, of course, they've exploded the money supply by $7 trillion over the last 2 years, so it should be a concern to them. And the normal inflation rate of 3%, which is only 60% of the average of property tax increase, would put us at $37,562,995 instead of the $33.8 that was there. That's a delta of $3.762 million. So there's three quarters of what you're looking at $4.8 million, Commissioner. I think that's your suggestion. And I sat there saying, well, and if we do a similar growth on sales tax just based on it, without cutting a penny, and budget money for anybody, those revenue figures could be there and the property tax could be reduced by that 4.8 million that you're going to suggest without harm to the county's financial position. As a matter of fact, I sat down and went through what was the county's financial position last year. We had 19 million plus sitting in the general fund balance, just under $10 million in the capital improvement fund. So we were sitting here looking at $28 million nearly. Today, we're at 75 million once the auditor says to the treasurer, send the 27 million, and it gets posted to that account in capital improvement fund. So we're sitting on more money than we collect in a year in property tax. In fact, we could take the first year's distribution of ARPA, the American Recovery Plan Act, the $60 million, put it with what should be in the capital fund. If we move another 8 from the general fund to the capital fund and fund 100% of the 10-year plan. 100% of the 10-year capital improvement plan. And we could do that before the 4 years are up for ARPA. And that still leaves half of ARPA for other things to consider. So I'm just saying, this idea that, it's so harsh what you're asking as a commission to cut the property tax by a measly $4.8 million when there's that much in growth in sales and property tax combined seems disingenuous to me at best, without me being unkind in language or anything else. It's just, we have our money, we don't want to give any up. That's what it appears to me. And I'm a private citizen for the last 3 weeks, not taking a paycheck. Ralph is online, he can verify that. I said, if I'm a candidate, I want to make sure that there's no conflict of interest. I haven't campaigned from my office in the historic courthouse, though I put in 20 hours a week. I'm not claiming anything on payroll because I don't want anybody to think that I'm doing something wrong. What I'm saying here is there's enough to do your cut without impacting anybody's budget, without reducing anybody's personnel in the county or expense lines, not even travel and training, which are the two easiest low-hanging fruits to get at. So my suggestion is that you proceed with your tax cut, and we have enough and to spare. Thank you. I look to reduce the tax increase by another 25% soon. I hope you share my vision to restore effective and limited county government and not waste 1 red cent to do it. I will provide a collaborative approach to a balanced budget, public safety, economic development, empowered employees, and steady leadership, all with an emphasis on Utah County values. Ranked choice balloting begins tonight, April 22nd at 10 p.m. and closes on Saturday the 24th at 3 p.m. I hope I have earned and asked for your number 1 ranked vote. If not, I ask for your second ranked vote. Thanks for your consideration.